Tigress here, and welcome back to another video here on the Destinesia Studios channel. Today we are continuing the new series I've started on the channel of My Guide to Minecraft Roleplay, where I am showing you guys how I wrote memory lane and giving you guys my tips and tricks on what to do with your own roleplay. If you haven't seen the first video, the introduction video in this series, I would highly suggest watching it. It's where we basically started from the very beginning and explained a bunch of stuff on your roleplay's genre, how long it will be, everything to do with the basics. So if you have not seen that, I would highly suggest going to see it. I'll put a link to that video in the description below. But today we are doing a full deep dive into the plot writing of your roleplay. I know a lot of roleplay guides, I don't think they cover this bit, but it's also partially because we're kind of going outside of the bounds of Minecraft, but I decided I would just do it just so that way you guys can see how I wrote memory lane and the formula that I used. I personally think this formula really works. I think it just gives way more depth and just perspective to your roleplay, to your story, that a lot of roleplays don't have nowadays. Now, as I said in the first video, what I'm going to tell you guys is not law, but this is my strong opinion. I really think you should go with this if you're going to do your own Minecraft roleplay. So without further ado, let's get into this. So let's just assume that you have a general idea of what your roleplay story is going to be. Maybe let's go off of what I mentioned in the first video, where you have decided to do a space sci-fi roleplay. Yes, yes. And let's say that in your story, there is a world or an empire, totally not going off of Star Wars or anything, that is trying to conquer and rule most of the other worlds in this sci-fi universe. Now, right off the bat, you're probably like,
okay, let's make my main character who can then thwart this plan and just save everyone, and it's just gonna be great. It's gonna have a happy ending, but it's gonna be a great battle. They're going to thwart this guy. It's gonna work. My story is all about this plot and this whole battle that's gonna take place.
What if I told you that right there you already have a problem? This is where I'm going to tell you guys something that you probably haven't really heard before, and it's probably going to sound wrong at first, but once I explain it, it's going to make a lot of sense. Your story should not be about the plot and the epic battle and all that entails that. It should be about your character, your main character. Your roleplay, your story should be focused on your character and not the big battle that they're going to go through. It shouldn't really have anything to do with what they're going to end up doing, at least externally. It's all about how you write them on the inside. Now, right there, you're probably like,
whoa, Tigress, what did you just say? Did you just say that I should get rid of my plot? That there's no meaning to my plot anymore?
No, I did not say that. But also in a way, yes. Okay, this is where I'm going to really define or try to describe what I'm saying. Your story should not be plot focused. Your story should not be driven by the external plot. It should be driven by your character. Your story should be character driven. What does it mean for your story to be character driven? Well, it means that your character is driving the story. They are the ones that are propelling the story forward, not the plot. It means that the decisions they're making and the consequences of those decisions are what's propelling the story forward, not the external plot. Yes, your main plot is important. Yes, going to stop this bad guy who's doing whatever is important. But in order to make it impactful, you have to explain why your main character is in this situation at all. Why are they the main character? Why have they decided to take on this quest of defeating the bad guy or figuring out the solution to a problem? It's all about the why. In order to dive fully into this, we need to talk about something called internal conflict and external conflict. What is internal conflict, you ask? Internal conflict is exactly that. It's the conflict that takes place within us, the battle that takes place in all of us. We all struggle with internal conflict every day, whether we realize it or not. It can be as simple as deciding what to eat for lunch, or it could be as complicated as facing one's past and maybe forgiving someone or deciding to move on from something. I think this is what a lot of characters in a lot of, whether it be books, movies, TV series, maybe the Minecraft roleplay community, what these characters lack is the internal conflict. Because the internal conflict is what gives your characters flaws. It's what makes them human. Let me explain. Internal conflict, if you divide it even further, is basically a desire or objective that they have versus a fear they have. They have this goal that they want to accomplish. They have this objective that they want to get to. But something is holding them back that's causing them to not achieve whatever this is, at least not yet. The fear that's holding them back from doing this is often derived from a misbelief they have or a misconception that they've gotten through the years. It could maybe even be a true phobia that the character or person has that came from an actual event that took place in their life. Let's just take Memory Lane into an example here. The first season of Memory Lane, we have Eden Dallaire, 16-year-old Eden Dallaire. And her goal, her objective or desire throughout the first season is to have friends and just be accepted. Her fear is that because of her amnesia, no one is going to accept her. No one is going to like her. People are going to think she's a weirdo, a freak. This fear comes from the misbelief she has that everyone is going to think that people who have amnesia are weird, that they are freaks, and that thus everyone's going to treat her that way. It's as simple as that. She has this goal, but the thing holding her back from this goal is this fear she has that comes from this misbelief that she obviously finds out is not true, that people will accept her, people will still like and love her despite her having amnesia and not remembering anything. She can still live a normal life despite what she deals with. And that's what I'm saying. When you give your characters the internal conflict, when you give them this desire versus fear, it affects their decisions. Look at episode 4 of the first season of Memory Lane. The whole argument in between Eden and Zoe at Zoe's house. Because of Eden's fear and misbelief she had, she stormed off and she decided that she was done with Zoe and that she didn't want to talk to her, that Zoe wouldn't want to be friends with her. Her closing herself off is what caused her to go into the Echo Caves, and the whole thing happens where she twists her ankle. Again, what I'm saying is when you give your characters this internal conflict, it affects how they think, it affects how they make decisions. And then those decisions they make are going to have consequences, whether they be good consequences or bad consequences. So that's what I'm saying. When you have your plot and you have your main character, you need to give your character that internal conflict, that desire versus fear. Okay, you have this bad guy who needs to be thwarted, but your main character, what is their desire? Why do they want to stop the bad guy? Maybe it's because in the past they had a similar situation where they could have done the right thing and they chose not to, and because of that there were some detrimental consequences. So because of that thing that happened in the past, they want to stop the bad guy. But maybe the fear that's holding them back from fully committing is that they're going to make the same mistake, that they're going to freeze up when the moment comes. This fear could come from the misbelief they might have about themselves, that their past defines who they are, that they can't change. And we know that's not true. Anyone can change. It's as simple as that. Figuring out what your character wants, but the thing that's stopping them. Like I said, we as humans, as people, we deal with internal conflict every day. We have goals and objectives, and we have fears that keep us back from fully committing to achieving them. So when you write that into your character, not only are you making them more human, more relatable, but also you are giving them flaws. And that is something that I find a lot of characters lacking, especially in books, is flaws. Now you might be like,
Tigress, what are you talking about? I don't want to read about a character or watch something with a character that has flaws. What are you talking about?
okay, for one, I don't really believe you. But two, sure, Ben, read something that has a robotic character. Because that's what happens. When you write a character that has no internal conflict, that you don't really know anything about them, they just decide to be the good guy, apparently, for no real reason. They become super robotic, and they don't seem real. They seem perfect. They seem like they don't struggle with anything. And whether we realize it or not, we can't relate to them. I could not really relate to a perfect person. Because I am human, I have problems, and I struggle with things. How do you think it works in the real world? When we meet someone and we find out we have something in common, we can relate on that ground. When we meet someone who struggles with something that we may struggle with, we instantly relate to them. We can share things about that problem. We can either encourage each other or just help each other through it. So that's what you want to do with your characters. Imagine you have a character who struggles with something, and maybe someone watching your series happens to struggle with the same thing. Watching that character just deal with their problem and eventually conquer their fear can inspire your viewer. It can encourage your viewer. It can show them, hey, this character was able to get over their fear and conquer it. Maybe I can too. And thus, you get to leave a positive impact on your viewers. And that is ultimately what you are shooting for. You might still be like,
Tigress, I don't really know if I want to try and do this. It sounds kind of complicated trying to write internal conflict into these characters or whatever.
okay then, well, let me just give you this. Without the internal conflict, your plot is meaningless. Without the external conflicts, your characters will never change. What do I mean by that second part? You do need the external conflict and the plot to push your character out of their comfort zone, to push them outside of the bounds of their world, their mini world, and make them change, make them pursue that objective they have. Because without the external conflict, they're just going to keep living their life and nothing's going to happen. On the other side of things, you have your plot, you have your external conflict, but like I said, without your internal conflict in the character, what makes them the main character? What makes them the good guy in this situation? That's what I'm saying. You need to give your characters depth and really show that maybe they aren't exactly the good guy. Maybe they have flaws. Maybe they have good and bad in them. That's what we want to see. That's what I want to see. When I'm watching something and I see a character that isn't exactly good or bad and they're human, I end up liking that character more because they are more relatable and feel more human. Even though I said that a lot of books and movies and TV series lack this, there are still a few good examples of main characters dealing with internal conflict versus the external conflict around them. Examples consist of even Kung Fu Panda 2. I think it's so funny because despite this movie being like a kid/family movie, it does a really good job of showing the internal conflict that Po has with his past versus the whole external conflict going on with Shen. Like, if I'm being honest, it's actually one of my favorite movies just because of it. And then even the new big hit movie K-pop Demon Hunters, even that movie has a really good main character who deals with a lot of internal conflict. So really, just write internal conflict into your character. Think of something anyone would struggle with. Maybe like facing the unknown, or something about someone's past. Someone may have the goal or objective to prove themselves to someone, but the fear holding them back is the unknown and what could happen if they step outside their comfort zone. Because ultimately, your story should be about your main character, yes, thwarting the villain or whatever is going on, but also mainly about their journey to that. How they become a better person through it. How they achieve their goals or get over some fears they may have. Because that's what makes your story emotional. It's what gives it emotion and depth and weight. And that is what you are shooting for with this. If you are still wondering about how exactly you'd write this, I would highly suggest watching Abby Emmons here on YouTube. She's an author herself, and here on YouTube she does make videos about how you can write stuff like this, how to write certain character tropes, the internal versus external conflict, just a lot, basically anything about writing. And she helped me a lot when it came to learning about the writing process, so I will leave a link to her channel down in the description below. I'm sure she could probably explain this a lot better than I have. But in closing, I know we didn't exactly cover too much in this video. We were mainly just diving into plot writing and writing your character. But just in closing, just give your story meaning. Give reasons as to why your characters make the decisions they do. Don't make them robots that don't make a single wrong decision. If they do make a wrong decision, it literally doesn't make sense because there seems to be no reason behind it. Just really give weight and depth to your story. But I think that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it helps a little bit with the whole writing perspective, the whole writing side of Minecraft roleplay. I know this video wasn't necessarily Minecraft related, but as I said in the beginning, I just wanted to cover it for anyone. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it was a help. I'm not exactly sure what the upload schedule is going to be like for this series. I'm going to try to get the videos out as fast as I can, but it all depends on how much time I have. But that's all. Again, make sure to keep looking out for the next episode of Cyborg and our new Minecraft series. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, I think that's everything. So, bye!